let's have a quick look at getting our silhouette, and let's add some values to it to get some light and dark, add some more details to it, and see if we can get it looking like an actual physical vehicle. So first things first, let's turn these off. Adjustment layers do like to jump up. My extras I'm going to drop into a folder, a little group folder here we can have. And my main layer, let's duplicate him. I always like to do a duplicate just in case. Can always have it turned off. And I'm going to select this entire image. Now, if you've done this properly, you would have made sure that it's on a separate layer. Background, as you can see, is just purely that, just a white background. Now, this little image window over here in the layers panel, if I hold down the control key, you'll notice that the hand comes with a little box below it. If I click on there, that will actually select that image. So I don't have to worry about jumping, grabbing, or wand or anything like that. So that's selected. You can see the marching ants around it. And then I'm going to mask it off. Now, this little box here with a circle in it is the mask button. I'm going to click on that. And you'll see in the window that a mask has appeared there. Now, the object looks exactly the way it is. But what's happened is anywhere that's black in the mask area is essentially going to be invisible. So I can go to my layer. Make sure you select on your layer, not your mask. Otherwise, you're going to be erasing or adding to the mask. And I could maybe grab a red brush just as something extravagant, and I can draw a line through there. Now that line cuts off exactly where the end is there, but in reality, if I turn this mask off, if I go right click on it and go disable layer mask, you can see those lines are technically still there. It's just the mask is hiding them. So I'm going to hit enable, and I'm going to step back from it. So it's a nice way to be able to just make sure that we've got what we need to block everything off. So again, make sure you're on your actual layer, not the mask. Otherwise, weird stuff will happen. Okay, so again, I'm going to jump to my brush, and we want to start looking at values. So values are light to dark, how the light's going to be affecting it, and getting some details in here. So I'm going to stick everything to grayscale. You really don't want to mess around with color too early. You can use your color picker here in the left corner, or the swatches are a good option for this. I'm actually going to select, I'm going to click on my Wacom, or you can go to your brush tool up here, and I'm going to try one of these chalk paints here. And again, this is going to be a matter of playing around. Now, previously, I had these shortcuts here. I had the possibility of the pen pressure affecting the brush stroke, which is a good start. The other option is this one here, which is pen pressure affect the opacity. So the harder I press on the pen, the lighter the stroke is going to be. You also may wish to drop the opacity over here. Or if you use the numeric keypad, I can type in 5, it's going to go 50% to 20%, 0, 100%, or in between, 23 for example, 2, 3, 23%. So this is a quick way of using numeric to quickly define areas. So I'm going to step back, and I'm just going to start looking at, trying to get some form to this. Now, once again, it's just going to be a matter of sort of playing around with your image, and I'm just going to start brushing some areas on. Nice big brush to start with. Start figuring out where my light areas are, and perhaps some of my other darker areas as well. And just, start kicking it around. Start playing with the darker areas, define, etc., etc. And pretty quickly, with a little bit of practice, you might be able to get something looking pretty good pretty quick. So this is actually looking a bit like a shark, which is not unusual. So I had some images of sharks as references. And as we get closer and closer, we can start lowering our brush size, and then maybe looking at refining some of the details. Always look for highlights. So highlights you typically are going to get on the corners between where a dark area is and a light area is. And typically, once I've got a few shades or values, as we continue, I'll start using my eyedropper key with my brush. So Alt will bring up your eyedropper, and that will allow me to hover and select a particular color. And then from there, I can start painting in and getting a little bit more form to that to pick out some black area there. Again, might want to jump and use my Shift key to start getting some straighter edges there. And as we generally get used to the brush, we'll start getting a little bit more sort of into it. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. This is purely a demo, quick demo sort of thing, but eventually you'll probably get the hang of this a little bit more. Let's ramp up the opacity a bit. Just want to get some of those highlights and shadows happening. 3%, that's not going to do it. That's a bit better. So freehand brushwork is great. You know, you may want to jump in and hit the cog and go to something like square brushes, for example. It'll ask you if you want to replace or append. Append means it gets added onto the list. Replace means all of these get kicked out. You can always reset it anyway, but I'm going to hit append and grab some square brushes. And it's just going to add nice little square effects to this. Etc. etc. So, you know, super quick, and start seeing this kind of getting a bit of form there. It's not super amazing. The next thing we want to look at, besides using the brush, especially with using geometric forms, is using our lasso tools and our marquee tools. So if I grab our rectangular tool here, for example, and I really want to define some areas, I want to jump in there and go, you know what, there's some really sharp edges I want to pick in there. I can jump in and, you know, with a nice, let's just go with a solid, let's go with a soft brush for this and pick out black for this. And I can start painting in there. And because this is a selected area, it can be selected, you can see it's going to do a nice sharp edge for that. And I can either grab my lasso tool again and move that to the next point. And once again, change my brush and I can start brushing in there. So it's a great little way of sort of getting areas. I'm going to step back a little bit to there, zoom in a bit. And I'm going to inverse select this. So remember, where there's a shadow, there's an edge on that, it's usually quite bright. So let's do this. I'm going to go select and inverse, or Control-Shift-I. And that's actually going to select everything except for that. Now the mask is still in place, so brush, I'm going to select white from this example. And I'm just going to run that around the edge a little bit. And that's just going to help ramp up that little section there. Could probably pick a better brush than that, but that's fine. So our marquee selection tool is great. We can also jump in and do our standard lasso tool. And say, you know what, let's define this little chumpy bit here, like so. And maybe I want to jump back to one of my chalk brushes. I do like a little bit of texture for those. Let's try number 44. Pick out some black. Great. Control-Shift-I, inverse. Let's select something lighter. And let's see if we can't get something having that's interesting off there. And there we have it. So really cool to do that sort of stuff. And just jump back and forth between your lasso tool, marquee tool, and whatever else is required. Now, the other one I want to show you is, which I actually mentioned quite a few times just in the last few sentences, is the actual marquee tool. Now, the marquee tool is typically for doing circles and squares. It's about as simple as a tool can get. But there's a few extra little things for this. So because this is a lot of geometric shapes, this can come into play. And it's over here. Shortcut is M. And if you hit Shift M, it's going to circle between either being a rectangular or elliptical. So I'm going to grab the elliptical. And let's just say I want to add a little vent area here. So I create a circle there. And again, as you start creating it, if you hold down Shift, it's going to do a perfect circle. We can move that around to where we want to place it. And that's pretty good. I can go, yeah, it's great. Let's, lighten or darken that as required. Fantastic. Now, if I try to transform that, if I go Control T and I transform it, you'll actually see it'll move that part out of the object. Now, I actually kind of like it like that, where it's been removed, but that's not really what I might be after. I'm actually going to delete that. I do like the edge there. And I'm also going to inverse and just emphasize that. Very glitchy things happening on. Let's lighten up the other edge. Pretty sloppy, but that will do. So I'm going to show you how to transform a marquee tool. Control D to deselect. So let's say, for example, I create a marquee tool and it's, maybe it's in this place here. And that's pretty close, but I want to get a little bit more precision on that. Again, Control T is just going to do some weird. It's actually going to move the entire object, which might not be what I want. So what I'm going to do is, with that selected, I'm going to right click, or you can use your pen bottom on your Wacom, your bottom button, and go to transform selection. So transform selection is actually going to transform what I've selected and not the image. So I can grab that and you can see it's actually moving, or rotating, or doing whatever to that selection. Now I can do more than that as well. I can also right click in there again, and we've got warp and distort and that kind of stuff. So I can jump into distort, for example, and now I can start moving and really defining the shape according to how I want it. So I can say, you know what, I need it to be exactly like that for whatever reason. And once that's done, I can hit the tick key, I can grab my brush, and I can start defining that area. Like so. And let's drop in some light area for that. Etc. Don't forget your inverse, Control Shift I to do an opposite selection. And away we go. Cool. So I'm going to stop this one here. This is sort of giving us a rough idea of where we can go with this. Don't be shy to create a new layer of this or duplicate this layer if need be. It's always an interesting way to duplicate and see what image you can come up with as far as that. And again, the rectangle tool does the same sort of thing with the transform and Control D to deselect. Don't forget to save your workout from time to time as well. And I'm going to stop this here, and we'll get to the next video.